All right. Let's look like we're streaming. So good morning, everyone. Just give me a moment here. I'm going to drop the link into Facebook because I'm out of Facebook jail now. Isn't that awesome? So just hang tight. Behold the new display here. This is a really cool feature. I can't believe I didn't know about this software until just now. It's called OBS. It is a free open source streaming software, and we get to do really cool stuff like this. I can't believe I was wasting my time on Zoom this whole time. All right, let me drop the link here on the Facebook page, and then we'll get right to it. All right, hope everybody's doing well. We're here on the 12th of January, 2021. Oh no, do the thing. There we go. All right. Like I said, sit tight, just 1 second. This is all a new learning curve for me with all of this new software. I am running a little behind today. Everything is so discombobulated, don't you think? And of course, all that Uranus energy and Aquarius, all of the Taurus energy, squaring these fixed squares is not helping the situation, but it is really forcing us into our ability to trust this natural process. So let me drop this link. All right. So I am out of Facebook jail. I cannot stream for 3 months though. So I am just going exclusive to these other platforms to stream the Daily Medicine. And it looks like it is published. Excellent. All right, here we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily medicine transmission. We are looking at the 12th of January, 2021. So I hope everybody's doing well, taking care of yourself best you can. We have the spread here live and in full color for you to look at. We have here the horizontal axis, which is the Thoth Tarot, the vertical axis, which is the Akashic Tarot. We have the Spirit Animal Messages, the Stephen D. Farmer deck, and then also the Akashic Tarot to offer some guidance where we're at energetically. So let's talk a little bit about the astrology before we get into the reading of the intuitive energies right now. Ooh, boy. So I would really encourage you, if you haven't already, if you're new to all of this, to go back and check out the report for the astrology. That is the new moon, which is happening midnight Eastern Standard Time or 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today, this evening. So by the end of today into this evening, we will have a new moon. And so that report is all about that and the astrology through the 20th, which is the first quarter square. It's a long report, but there is so much astrology every single day that it was impossible for me not to have it be that long as I talked, a mile a minute just to get through it. It is jammed packed every single day leading up to that point. And I'm going to be getting a report out for the rest of the lunar cycle so we can really start to look ahead, because I feel like that we have all been hyper focused on what is happening coming up to this one point. And we do need to be mindful that the cycles continue and that we're really looking at a much larger cycle playing itself out until the equinox in March. And so I want to focus on that, even for my own benefit, because I haven't even looked that deeply into the astrology past the 20th because it is so intense. So today is the 12th. Let's look at the astrology, or at least talk about it real quick. Like I said, you can look at the more technical aspect of it with that report, with the charts, and be able to see it visually as well. But what do we have going on today? Well, we have Mercury. It's going to square Uranus. So Mercury in Aquarius, there's these fixed squares, Mercury in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus. We have Venus now in Capricorn squaring Chiron. If you remember yesterday, we had the moon in Capricorn, and this is where the new moon's going to be, is in Capricorn, in conjunction with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened a year ago to the day, okay? This time last year, we were focusing on this major conjunction between Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn that signified the solidification of the end of an era, right? And that really kicked it off right there. And so a year later, we are now coming around to a new moon at that same location, about a degree off. That same location that is now going to give us an opportunity to set intentions personally within us, within the polarity of us, the spectrum of the yin and the yang, the light and the dark within us. The new moon is a time where we set intentions and we plant a seed to completely commit to this goal internally. So with Saturn and Pluto, these large transpersonal planets, they represent a much larger cycle playing out, and boy, oh boy, has it been playing out all year. Of course it has. That is what we expected to a certain extent. We didn't know how it was going to unfold. I mean, again, this is a dynamic process that requires all of our participation, and it is constantly changing because it is dynamic. And so any change in the variables of the system change the whole system. So it's been quite a ride. And now it is time for us to really center into ourselves and make that commitment to this transcendent goal within us, right? We've had all of the outside events unfold over the past year to show us that the reality that we have come to recognize as reality has in fact been falling away, and that was the beginning of the end, right? Saturn comes along and gives form and structure and a sense of responsibility and karma, and time is a big part of the Saturn and the Capricorn archetype. So as we find ourselves here, it's time to commit. It's time to personally commit to it. And when we enter that realm of total commitment, discipline. I talked about this in the astrology report. Discipline, rigid discipline that leads to inner freedom. It means letting go of and consciously and intentionally stripping away all of the stuff that is not necessary in order to focus, in order to be able to only be focused on that transcendent goal. And there is a certain amount of security and there's a certain amount of security that is provided by the culture around us for this process as well. And so there is support, there is a structure here that is forming that does kind of create the walls in some way. It is. And it's because there's a value to it, but we have to make the personal commitment to this right now. So, here we go. We'll go back to it. So Venus in Capricorn now squaring Chiron. Again, this is, at first yesterday, it was a more emotional and internalized kind of making sure that everything is stacked and ready to go before we cross that threshold. Well, today, now it's much more in real life, right? Venus is about who we value, what we value, our relationships, our material reality. Now, again, it's going to square Chiron. Well, Chiron is still very focused on this individuation process, and it's a very strong emotional desire for individuation, especially when it comes to whether or not we identify as a victim, as a savior. You know, are we living out the wounds, our original wounds, as a wounded healer? That just like Chiron did, and had to give up that identity in order to actually heal from the original wounding, which was the shame of his conception of who he was. And when we're talking about Aries, it's all about who we are. Again, Venus in Capricorn, she's really had to step up to her responsibilities in the real world. And this is a time in this square today that we have, again, this is another moment where we get to make sure that everything is stacked, that everything is taken care of before we step across that threshold, and it's not going to necessarily it's not necessarily supporting where Chiron is right now. It's in a square, right? And so this provides tension that leads to a release. And it is our ability to go with that and lean into it and be flexible that allows for something to be learned from that situation. So again, is everything stacked? Do you have all the firewood stacked? Is everything taken care of in your actual physical life now, your material world, before we cross this threshold? Because it's coming, right? It's pretty clear with the astrology that we're about to have a massive breakthrough, especially when Uranus goes direct on the 14th. The moon is in a sextile to Neptune. It's going to be, if we can individually and emotionally step up to our responsibility, maybe a little bit more than we are naturally supposed to, well, this is going to allow us to deal with and to navigate the fog of war right now. It is so intense how much fog there is, and there is no way to really there's nothing to hold on to, and we're desperately clinging to anything. And the reality is that we just have to kind of sit down and wait for it. And this is why Venus in Capricorn right now, bringing our attention to the fact that we have to make sure that everything is taken care of before we step off into the dark woods. And in an emotional sense, an intuitive sense, on our psychic channel, our emotional landscape, if we can step up to a sense of responsibility, this will allow us to manage our position within this fog and actually have a clear sense of, using our inner standing, right? There is no boundary here with Neptune and Pisces, and this is why it's so important that we are in touch with our own intuition. And that means stepping up and being a grown-up, maybe before you want to be a grown-up, okay? The moon is going to quincunx the North Node, her own North Node today. Again, the nodes of the moon they make us obsessed, especially the North Node, because it is pulling us towards where we need to go for our evolution. So we the full range of ideas is so right there for us to consume, and it has been for weeks and weeks and weeks. That has not changed yet with where the nodes are. And this is the direction we're headed. The quincunx today is going to require an adjustment because it's about stepping up to our responsibility to who? The collective, what we're here to do. It's not just about us at this moment, and the moon in Capricorn is really facilitating this today. So the adjustment's going to come because part of that responsibility, again, this whole concept of the orchestra and being a part of this whole that is creating something bigger than ourselves is very relevant right now. And we need to step back a little bit and realize that our own individual voice is meant for a larger situation. And oftentimes the choir in a religious service is not even out front. They're hidden in the back because it's not about them. It's about the resonance and the harmony that is being provided as a result of what they are doing. And this is going to force us into an adjustment with the obsession with the North Node and where we're headed today. We need to, again, pull back and realize that it's not just about us and that our resonance actually makes a difference. Now, with the moon in a trine to asteroid Vesta in Virgo today, there is a sense that if we can, I don't know how to say this without being triggering. It's not about accepting defeat in that giving up hope. It's about being graceful and realizing that where we have gone wrong or where we have been individually defeated, because the moon is about our individual internal experience, if we can accept where we've individually maybe have experienced defeat, we can not only learn so much more from that situation, it is absolutely in line with Vesta and the mastery of being able to put on this royal coat of arms. We can only really do that if we accept our own defeat gracefully. Again, this is not about giving up on our integrity or on whatever it is that we are focused on. But again, we are focused on so much more than what is playing out in front of us. If that is the only thing that is giving us a sense of hope and responsibility, then the fact that it's shifting so much, and we're going to see this you can see it right here in the transmission. If you know these cards, we are headed for, not only was that tower moment yesterday, we're also, this is really showing us that because of all of our worry and about the material world and the shifting and changing that is inevitable in nature, which is at the heart of this moment, there is going to be, we're drowning. We are drowning in the worry. We are drowning in the illusions. We're drowning in the escapism. And we really have to get ourselves together in that sense. But if we can accept where we have experienced defeat with our own personal experience and be graceful about it, have some humility, my gosh, and be like, wow, I was wrong about that. Or I see now that letting go of this certain aspect allows me to grow so much more. Well, then that is when we really are able to step into our nobility, put on the royal coat of arms, and step into our actual power. So that's really the astrology for the day. Mercury, like I said, squaring Uranus, Mercury in Aquarius. We can conceptualize that we're coming out of a cycle and being born into a completely new era. We can conceptualize that. We are able to connect with that mentally, of course. The square here, again, is that with Uranus, it's so much more about trusting the natural unfoldment of this and being able to see, the thing about Aquarius is it's about the future. And with Taurus, we still have to be fixed in where we are right now. And part of that is letting go. We have to let go of the old patterns in order to even see where we're going. We can't just be like, oh, the future. That's where we're headed without letting go. And that is a big problem right now. People are clinging to what is, and we don't even see it. This is why, again, admitting the defeat, admitting where we've gone wrong, admitting to ourselves that, oh, I didn't realize I was clinging to this, is going to allow us to grow so much more as opposed to just holding so tight to what was. Because if we don't let go, we're not even going to be able to see the potential for the future. And we can conceptualize it in our minds all day long, but the reality is we have to be grounded here, and we have to feel it in our bodies, and we have to feel it in our resonance. And this is why the thumbnail for this video, again, is the Earth Star chakra. We have got to connect, and we have to ground and anchor ourselves, not only to the earth, but into the Earth's energy field too. Because she's already made the transition. So she is able to help mitigate this process for us. And we really got to pull. And it's hard with Mercury and Aquarius. It really is, right? Our minds are way off into the future, way into the new evolution, right? The square is really going to pull us back into reality, okay? So let's get into the transmission and look at some of these cards and talk about it, because this is, and I think the guidance today really has a lot to say. So I'm going to take a sip of coffee here. 1 second. Thank you all so much for being here. If you're alive right now, it's really great to see you. Oh, hi, Seth. It's funny. All right. There's a lag on the actual stream on YouTube, so I actually look at the stream on the software. So if I don't get to your comments right away, it's because I'm not looking at the YouTube screen. Okay, so as we come into the moment, as you'll see here, and I'll show you as well, and as I get used to this weird angle, this mirror angle. This is the 5 of discs. As you can see here, it says worry. It's Mercury in Taurus, right? And, it's not necessarily always about it's so awful, right? The Five of Discs, if you look at the Rider-Waite deck, we know what that is. That's the two people out in the snow passing by the church, right? And being like, the Five of Discs is very disruptive change and a material crisis, okay? And the good thing about this card is that, number one, it could just be the mental aspect, right, of just worrying about things. And boy, oh boy, people are worried, and they're trying to appease their worry by just going in a cycle. And you'll see here as we get to the end of this reading that we're just drowning in our in all of the false hope and delusion here, because we are worried about the physical reality. We're having a material crisis. Now, something to consider here is that when the forest burns, it fertilizes the land. And so even in the situation of a material crisis, there is always a cycle here. Always. And again, that is the whole point of Taurus, is this cycle. Natural cycle. Nothing is stagnant. Nothing is forever. The only constant is change in this universe. So it also allows us to reconsider our values as we have this material crisis and this disruptive change. But this is the energy coming into the moment, okay? So, and then we have in the moment is... Here we go. The Two of Discs, right? This is change. This is the natural, harmonious change that is fluid and that is about finding balance and contrast. Now, if you can look at the spread here, you see that it's in a horizontal position. The head of it is facing away from Mercury. And so we're already starting off with this worry, right? This material crisis. And people are they're just hashing it over. They're concerned. They're like, when are things going to happen? What's going to happen? Is everything going to be okay? Am I going to lose things? Are we going to win? Whatever. And then we come to the heart of the moment here, which is a very harmonious and balanced and natural change, right? This is part of nature, right? It is the Ouroboros. You can see here, yin and yang, light and dark. It is a seamless transition. It is not something that happens, it can be kind of like flipping a switch, but it's not as abrupt as that. It is a natural process. And as we see here, it's going to be facing away. It's facing towards the outcome. So we're already started with this worry, and now things are shifting in a very fluid way. So what is at the top of our awareness? We have the King of Scrolls. So here we are. When we talk about the court cards, we're talking about actual people. And at the top of our awareness, I think there is a real desire here for clarity and deeper understanding. And you can see here that he's got one of the scrolls tucked under his arm, so it's very possessive in some ways, but he's looking off into the distance. Like, he really looks like he's contemplating. He has another scroll down here that's open. It's open, right? He has a couple scrolls here. They're open. The Gemini, North Node in Gemini, this is not going anywhere for a while. This is part of our evolutionary trajectory here, is to learn to deal with the bifurcation and the dialectic and to not feed into one side or the other. But this is definitely we're really longing for this clarity, this deeper understanding. And there is a lot to be discovered, right? The King of Scrolls is very confident. He's also very sheltered. Look, he's in this garden, this beautiful garden. There's this huge fence right here and gateway. So there's protection. And there is a safe, quiet place to contemplate. I think this is what we're really looking for. And it brings wisdom through study and spiritual practices. Again, see, he is contemplating. He's not just endlessly reading his scrolls, going over them over and over and searching for more scrolls. He's taking the scrolls that he has, and he's taking some time to step back and contemplate them and look off into the distance. Maybe this is a good opportunity to start bringing your meditation practice back, right? To maybe take a step away from the constant intel drops, because the worry here is what is feeding a lot of what is going to be the outcome of this, which is the drowning in the delusion here. And so at the top of our awareness, I think we really are longing for this understanding and clarity. And this is showing that, we can gain this wisdom through practice and study, but we are not, it's not like the social media stuff is such an addiction right now. And I'm saying this from personal experience. I'm not trying to pass this off on other people as a judgment, because I myself am, personally dealing with this and looking to embody more of this as opposed to what we're going to see as the outcome of this. So what it's at the root here that we're not seeing is, so this card is called The Buddha Prepares. It's number 13. Now, when it's upright, you can see that the Buddha is under the Bodhi tree. The heart center is very lit up. All of the people around him are in meditation. This is often a card about waiting for the right time, being prepared, doing the inner work. So when it's reversed like this, we are looking at a time of action. The planning and the waiting is coming to an end. I think we feel the stirring of this under the surface. It's time for action, and it's time to move with certainty and courage, right? We've spent enough time meditating. Now, this seems counterintuitive at first because, as I just talked about, we want this clarity and understanding, and we do need to kind of take a step back and contemplate what we've already consumed and what we've already read and what we've already studied, right? We're not going to we have to analyze things and sit on them rather than constantly hashing through them, you know what I mean? But at the root of things, we do feel this stirring that it's soon going to be time to come out of our meditative cocoon, that we have prepared ourselves spiritually. It's not here yet. This is at the root of things energetically, in our subconscious, down in the darkness that hasn't quite risen up yet. But we do feel it coming, okay? And if we are not grounded when it's time to come out of this space and into action, it is not going to go well for us, okay? Now, here is the outcome here that we really need to be serious about, because this is the Seven of Cups. Now, the 7 is always the fall from grace, right? It is the all is lost moment, and the 8 is usually some sort of divine intervention that brings it back around, right, in the hero's journey. Now, the 7 of Cups is Venus in Scorpio. She is at her detriment when she is in Scorpio because she is in the opposite of her home, right? You can see this here. This is all slimy and bogged down. It is a bog. It's literally a swamp, okay? And everything is dripping with this gross green color, and all of the lotus flower petals are just drooping, okay? We are drowning right now in this illusion. So it's the clouds of intoxication, the waters of delusion, right? Scorpio, if you just sink to the bottom, right? This is not a good place for Venus. There is a desire here to escape from reality when you have this card. Deception or wishful thinking. And it's a warning. We can take this as a warning to recognize the delusion, to realize the false promises that may have been made as we are trying to appease and settle the worry about this material crisis, okay? And we can dissipate our own energy so easily. And this is really, in terms of an outcome, this is easily shifted, okay? But this was the read as of this morning. And so this is always changeable and malleable, but as of now, because of all this worry, because of all of the material crisis and the shifting and changing that is inevitable, right? As the Two of Discs, there is going to be a shift in material reality. This is showing that in order, Venus again, in order to handle this, people are going to give in to the deception. They're going to give in to the delusion. They're going to want to escape reality. And this is a warning to not buy into the delusion and to realize that there are so many options that we can there's so many options that emotionally we can give our power over to. And it is really a moment that we need to adjust ourselves. Okay, so this is the outcome of all of these energies today. So what can we use in terms of guidance today? So clearing the way, first of all, sorry, I'm still getting used to being in a mirror image. It's not like this on the Facebook app. It's, again, time to take action to clear out the obstruction. And when we're talking about the King of Scrolls and our minds, although we are talking about a physical and material obstruction, I would say also that we have to use our mental capacity in order to do this, clear the obstruction. You have to temper your action with calm and forethought. If you come at it like all too urgent and excitable, then you dissipate your energy. This is a big theme that keeps coming up today, the dissipation of energy. We have to be calm. We have to have forethought. We have to pace ourselves, okay? But you see, they have everything they need. He's got an axe. They're both together, so we're looking at the polarity of within us of the masculine, feminine, the yin and yang, both aspects. We are trying to get home, right? And this is easy to deal with because we have all the tools here, but it is showing us that we have to actually put the effort and work into that, and not let the worry. You can see the worry is not going to get this out of the way. We actually have to get out of the carriage and chop up the log. Otherwise, we can't get home. And no amount of mental energy and thinking necessarily and worrying about it is going to do anything. And I think, again, this is where Mercury squaring Uranus today can really give us some insight on how to actually, although it's challenging and uncomfortable, it will give us some insight on how to work with this. So again, we don't want to waste our energy. And we also want to trust that we have everything that we need. The camel, trust that you have the resources to get through the challenges before you. Well, what is a camel holding? Water, emotional resources. We have them. We have the emotional resources to get through the situation. We have the ability to get out and chop up this obstruction, this material obstruction, instead of worrying about it. And if we can just take a step back and kind of contemplate everything that we've studied so far, instead of just frantically trying to find more things to help us get this obstruction out of the way, I think that we will be successful and we'll get through things a lot faster than maybe we anticipated. Now, when it comes to the Buddha prepares, there is action coming, okay? We know that it's going to be time soon. The dog says your loyalty and faithfulness is misplaced by serving too many masters. Again, when we do come out of this waiting period, if our energy is spread all over the place, if we are listening to everybody else except our own intuition, this is going to work against us, okay? We need to be grounded into who we are and make sure that it's our own guidance that is leading the way for us. And the whole year has been about fine-tuning that, okay? Everything that we have engaged with has been about fine-tuning that because it's malleable. It changes. Our perception is based on the filter that we have, and that changes over time based on experiences. So it's not like we have it all figured out all the time. It's always changing. But what doesn't change is your higher self, okay? When I teach people how to connect to that, that is a consistent voice. It doesn't change. It doesn't appease your ego. It doesn't feed your fear. It's not feeding your ego. It's consistent. It's calm, right? It's loving. And it doesn't change. No matter what is changing around you, that connection to source doesn't change. So, and then along with that, this is will, wisdom, and mind. Again, it's reversed. So, the fire and the water are flipped upside down. The crown is on the bottom. And we may feel like our authority is diminished because we are, maybe we need to be taking more time to prepare. I think that the time is coming and we do feel it. And the best way to deal with this, or the best way to be ready to take action in our full power and authority, is to not be serving too many masters, and to be loyal and faithful to ourselves and to our own intuition. Maybe a couple of sources, if at all, at this point. And this is saying, we're spinning our wheels, we're overthinking, and there's very little clarity. And it's time, again, to take a step back, to get out of our heads, reconnect with our guidance, and know that, we still have some sense of authority here. Like, we're still going to land on our feet. There's not all is lost, but we have got to be very realistic here about who we are serving, because we're serving too many masters. And if we are in this position when it is time to act, it's not, like I said, that is where the debauchery of the Seven of Cups comes in, the delusion and the deception and the intoxication, right, with all of these potential realities, because we don't want to deal with reality as it is. We want to just keep feeding this beast, basically. So that is the transmission for today. Thank you so much for joining me today and being part of this. I really would love your feedback on this setup. I really like being able to show the spread on the side like this, because then you can really you can just look at the spread, see what comes up for you, and then we go through it and talk about it as well. So thank you for being here. Really take care of yourselves today. The new moon, like I said, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, midnight on the East Coast. We'll be here tomorrow morning for a new moon reading and a transmission, and getting ready for the 14th when Uranus stations direct. And, do your best to take a step back, right? To not let the worry and the rehashing of everything be dictating everything. Okay, we need to be calm. Not you. We need to be calm. We need to pace ourselves, right? Because there are very clear obstructions that we have to get out of the way in order to get where we're going, and we have to trust that we have all of the emotional resources to do it. But that means that we have got to stop feeding this hamster wheel here of our minds and our thoughts and our worry, because the change is here, right? Again, that is a constant in the universe, is the change. And if we are not careful, we are going to drown in our own delusion. And then we are no good to anyone, including ourselves. And we really need to be on point as we move through these times, okay? I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. If you're catching this on the replay, that's great. Everything you need is in the description box below. Please go to the website, sign up for the mailing list so we can stay in touch. I'm back on Facebook, so you can connect Catalyst Energies on Facebook. And still subscribe, hit the like button. It gets this information out, and I think it's helpful for people. I'm going to start posting the recordings of these lives on BitChute. So if you don't want to keep supporting YouTube, there will be other platform options as well. That just seems to be the direction we're all going. So I love you guys. I will